All right. My name is David True. I am doing the Chapter 2 presentation on the ethics of educational leadership. And the Chapter 2, start again. This is David True. I am doing the Chapter 2 out of the book of the Ethics of Educational Leadership on the developing a personal approach to ethics. So we will first start off by defining what ethics is. And at its simplest, ethics is a system of moral principles. They affect how people make decisions and lead their lives. Ethics is concerning with what is good for individuals and society, and is also described as moral philosophy. So, examples in that for our daily lives would be how to live a good life, our rights and responsibilities, the language of right and wrong, and the moral decisions, what is good and what is bad. So, there are two different types of ethics: the dynamics of ethics, which is concepts and ideas and develop own personal ethical system. And then the other type is the search for the meaning of life, establishing a framework and reflecting on the search for meaning. So we'll start with a paleontologist and philosopher, Teilhard de Chardin, a French philosopher, and worked on the understanding of human evolution as the key to understanding ethical issues. And he postulated the phrase spirit matter, where everything is connected and there is no separation between matter and spirit. And an example of this would be the human right of freedom is a result from the evolution of humanity. So evolution always succeeds in safeguarding previous stages of development. And during the book Phenomenon of Man, the emergence of internal arrangements is greater than your external arrangements, where we develop sympathy and antipathy. Through this, we go into ethical norms. Ethical norms are your thought, reflection, liberty, and essence of your consciousness. So operational through human experience, understanding, and judgment. And there are two types of ethical views. You have your classical view and your modern view. And the modern view is the most compelling when educational leaders face policy issues, such as what constitutes a just wage for teachers or what is the right of students to use for instruction. And the classical view is world as a finished product, your experience equals a clear understanding. Those individuals would have conformity, duty, obligation. And so examples of a classical view or a person in a classical view ethical job would be police or a public servant. Your modern view is dynamic and is always evolving. And errors equal change and revision. So these types of individuals would be if you're owning a business or if you're a classroom teacher, you're looking to grow and change over a period of time. And then next we get into natural law. Natural law should not be identified with physical, chemical, or biological law, which explains how the natural world works. So most commonly misunderstood is natural law does not equal the law of nature. Natural law is discovering through discourse, research, and reflection to have rationality. The law of nature is your physical, chemical, and biological changes. So for an individual to have a good rationality through natural law ethics is you do good and avoid evil. An example of this would be a zero tolerance policy on students if they use drugs in the school, which would mean that the goal is to keep drugs out of the school, but it also limits the educational focus for those students going to an alternative placement for punishment. They're not getting the full curriculum needed. When trying to understand natural law, there are two caveats that should be considered as an individual exercises their rights to discover natural law and apply it. So for natural law, there is reasoning which equals knowing. So you use this through observation, testimony, research, analysis, logic, intuition, common sense, are all used to understand reality when reality is always partial and limited by capability, emotions, and cultural conditioning. And through the development of ethical norms, the responsibility of each person is ethically good. Norms should emerge from experiences, and norms should be recognized that the unfinished evolution and character of a humanity in the world. And the fourth part of developing of ethical norms would be principles of proportionality, which people are doing what is ethical to achieve goodness. The root of social ethics are embedded in the realization that good and sincere people may be implicated in trying to do the right thing, where unethical people can cause others to be unethical. So it's almost leading by example and do what I do, good or bad. But from the teaching side, an educational leadership side, if I come into a building and I'm positive, my social ethics hopefully will be infectious to others, well, they'll be positive in the classroom. Where decisions are linked together and the history equals the decisions and the situations of what we are doing. Humanity creates society, and society creates humanity. It goes hand in hand. Principals and superintendents are usually aware that people can develop and grow within their community, which is why social ethics are important. With the consequences of human actions, unethical choices equal consequences. An example would be if somebody steals a candy bar from a convenience restaurant, the police get called. The consequences of our human actions is the core of our decision making. Each person is the ultimate cause of the kind of person he or she wants to become. Trust is a factor of growth and positive influence, and when educational leaders do not demonstrate this quality but act in an unethical manner, this can affect the staff's and the student's ethical balance. So the big thing to remember is see what I do and follow my lead. The virtues within ethics, human growth and human development, continues into adulthood and terminates with death. There are two individuals who worked on this evolution, Erik Erikson and Lawrence Kohlberg. Erikson looked at the aspects of human life and how it manifested into a somatic, societal, and an ego process. All three are interrelated and must be considered when analyzing a situation. This is that moral development. Kohlberg, who was influenced by Jean Piaget, worked on the structural and developmental approach, where ethical dilemma is used reasoning behind the responses, and it led to 6 different stages. Kohlberg's 6 different stages of moral development were punishment and obedience right, individual instrumental purpose and exchange right, mutual interpersonal expectations, relationships, and conformity right, social system and conscious maintenance right, prior rights and social contract or utility right, and universal ethical principles. And through these moral developments, once a person passes a stage, they will not regress. So if you think of a young kid who's learning how to do the right thing, or you're raising children, hopefully early on, they will get in trouble for not doing the right thing. And so they understand that if I do the wrong thing, I'll be punished. So I don't want to do the wrong thing anymore. Through this, prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance were part of Kohlberg's key virtues. Prudence is that memory, foresight, imagination, uses past experience to help solve a problem. Justice is making sure we treat others equally. Fortitude, overcoming obstacles and strengthens them. And temperance, this would be an administrator that neglects their responsibility and only performs at a minimum level. This is understanding your own self. So making ethical decisions, we have your conscience, which is your ethical decision making. Using inclination or your instinct, and in the Joseph Fletcher approach, is you identify the problem, list the action that you're going to do, predict the outcome, assign a value, and select alternative, which is the greatest good. During the search of ethics, having an active imagination, a tool that can help administrators understand their contributions to the profession and give overall meaning to life. So as I am going through my job, and I have a couple of years left until I retire, did my professional career make a difference? Did I have meaning in my job? Was I active? Did I develop relationships? And when I retire, did I give it my all? Is the main question. So now, what do I do? That concludes my chapter presentation on chapter 2 of Developing a Personal Approach to Ethics.